You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Once Upon a Time in Wonderland After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Once Upon a Time in Wonderland After Show.
Hello. Being is for doing, and we are here doing another Once Upon a Time in Wonderland after show. This episode is episode number 6, Who's Alice? I am your host, Jacque Borowski, and with me is Keaton. Not Keaton, he's not here. I don't know where my brain went.
Tiona Hobson
and Marisa Serafini, neither of whom is Keaton. Anyway, so this music is very powerful. We go to a flashback with this whole episode is about Alice's past with her dad. Her dad is a jerk.
Yes, and so is
her
stepmom.
Is her mom, the evil
her
stepmother.
So she basically has been going back and forth between Wonderland and leaving her father for longer periods of time. And in this flashback, she goes. This is about a year ago, we're told, and she has just thought that Cyrus is dead and has decides to stay and live with her father, who now has a new family. He has a new wife who looks like this woman who is a character on SNL. Doesn't she look like that lady from SNL?
She does. I can't think of her name, but
yeah, she's very funny. She's probably the funniest woman on SNL right now.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name.
I don't watch SNL, but I gotta say the actress who played the stepmother, she looked cold.
Oh yeah,
like she had sly eyes, and she looked like someone you shouldn't trust.
Yeah, and then she has a sister now, a half sister named Millie.
I just kept thinking Regina Mills, even though Regina, but like Millie Mills, some tie in there.
That would be cool. My question is, how long had Alice been gone this time?
Yes.
Because I know that Millie wasn't there when she left, but I mean, when she left last time, did she look younger? Or does she not age? Because if her dad doesn't believe her stories, but she keeps leaving for significant amounts of time and coming back looking the same exact age, hey, buddy, I don't know, maybe something's going on here.
Right.
That maybe you should be thinking, okay, maybe she's not completely lying because she left here 10 years ago and hasn't aged a day. So that's just my thought on the situation.
I think like time stops in Wonderland, kind of like you don't age. I don't want to say Neverland, that tie-in, like that. But like going to Wonderland, the time is skewed. It's not in the real time as we know, like the current age.
Yeah,
time,
so why doesn't her dad believe the fact that, he's aging? He has a, like what? How old do you think Millie is?
It looks like she was probably 6.
Yeah.
She was young enough to understand that, I have a bigger sister now.
Yeah.
But I wonder how long Alice has been gone this time. Because if she didn't really age in appearance and whatnot, but Millie's about 7 years old. I think we've come to that conclusion. How long has she been gone? 7 years? 8
Probably,
years?
yeah. Enough to develop a what she considers to be a lasting relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so she tried, because she has nothing left to go back to Wonderland for, so she decides that she is going to become part of her father's world on their terms, even though, I mean, her father kind of lets her in and then just
immediately expects her to change.
Expects her to change, which is also weird because I'm wondering how much she has told him about her past, because he seems to know everything, even though we're not seeing that on screen. She hasn't really told him much at all. She said like Cyrus here and there, but I'm wondering how much they know about how much she has told them, because they keep alluding to her having crazy stories and saying crazy things, but we don't see any of that. We see her saying very little.
Yeah, I thought when Alice came back, she seemed fairly sane.
Yeah.
And even though she doesn't seem
In
like
her
she's
defense.
really delusional, like to the point where, oh my goodness, she's having these ideas of grandeur and whatnot that we have to send her off to this asylum. She seemed like a fairly straightforward and put together when she came back.
She seemed like someone who had just lost the love of her life
Right.
and needed
Yeah.
more than a couple days
Right.
to move on and try to marry
Exactly.
someone else.
Yeah, I'm like,
She seemed pretty normal. But I think that some of the stories they were alluding to, maybe we didn't get to see her tell them all, but the last time we got to see when she came back when she was a child, her dad did say, you're back and forth so much, you keep coming and going. So I think maybe he had told his new wife maybe a little bit of the background of that, so she knew those stories as well.
And so then we have this scene where she has a nightmare, and Millie comes in, and she has a cute moment with Millie where she says, "Oh, well, I hope someday you find a person that will be the person of your dreams." Basically,
They weren't talking about magic or anything bad. She
no,
just
they
said,
weren't. And then the thing that was weird was, I'm like, are they like eavesdropping in the hall, like while people are sleeping? Because this is totally awkward. They come in, they're just like, "We need you to be better. You're awful." I'm like, do people not have nightmares in Victorian England? What is this? I mean, she had
Nightmares
it.
aren't allowed.
She just lost the love of her life.
Well, regardless, like that aside, and the weird stories aside, the thing that bothered me about this scene was, it's the nightmare that blew these people up to the point where they decided she needed to be in an asylum. And I'm like, nightmares are fairly normal. I don't think that the thing that tips you off, that makes your tipping point, should be a nightmare. It seemed like if she had an episode where, she was talking about rabbits and flowers, talking flowers and stuff, then maybe I could see that. But she's really having what I think is a really normal conversation to the little girl. She doesn't talk about magic or anything, you're right.
And she even tried to send her back to bed multiple times, but
Right.
Millie is stubborn.
Yeah.
Very.
She's like an only child, and she's being stubborn and not listening.
The thing is, because yes, she does seem more sane out when she comes back in this family home area, but when she's actually in the asylum, in the first episode that we see, that she is talking, and that location, she's talking about all the other characters she'd met, the caterpillar, the white rabbit. So in the asylum, she seems a little bit more delusional than she is in real life.
Right, but I think part of going to an asylum is you're probably the idea of being where she is, like in isolation, and you're stuck with all these problems. It's bound to make you feel a little crazy, and then and we know she's not. It's bound to make you have these kinds of like emotionally charged things where you just want to talk about it. Also, they've probably asked her to talk about it because they're her therapist.
They're trying to get her to confess that she made the whole thing up. So instead, she's like, "No, this is actually what happened, and I did this and did this." So
I was surprised that for I know her life is pretty much over, but for such a fighter, she just goes, to the asylum, gets in the car with Dr. Evil, and that is that.
Yeah, as soon as I saw him, I'd be like, I'd rather take Mr. Darcy instead. And why is there always a Mr. Darcy involved in London?
I loved that. Darcy, I just thought Pride and Prejudice.
As soon as they said Darcy, I was like, Pride and Prejudice, Bridget Jones' Diary. I was like, there's always a Darcy somewhere.
That's just their, nod to the English.
Are there really that many Darcys over there in
It
England?
might be the equivalent of Smith here that we have.
Maybe. If there is Mr. Darcy, please call me up, because I'd love to have a Mr. Darcy in my life.
And I did feel a little bad for him, because he comes in and she immediately is like, "I don't want you," and I'm like, okay, well, I do know that your heart is broken and you're emotionally like a mess, but this poor guy is probably just like, what just happened? Okay, bye.
She's psycho, but she's probably as good as I can get. And that's rude.
So we have the Knave, who has been de-stonified. And then there's a stoned joke later on.
That was the best line in any episode ever.
I was just like, once upon a time just went there. They just went there. And I was like, he said that, and I was like, he's not going to laugh about it. Oh, he did.
Oh, he did.
That happened.
That was real life.
I just gotta admit, I felt a little bit of Star Wars. I don't know if you mentioned this last episode, that when he turned back into human, it felt like Han Solo getting out of the kryptonite. Carbonite. It was very much the same way.
It does. We did not say that. I agree with that. I see that.
Reference there.
Yeah. And so he assumes that it's Alice who saved him. So he goes looking for Alice. He's thinking that he owes her a debt. Plus, in my mind, he really does have a crush on her. I mean, I really don't understand how anyone would just be like, oh, you're my platonic friend and I'm really going to go search you out.
I thought he just thought that, she was the one who unstoned him. So
I think but
my thought to him too was, if it was Alice, don't you think she would have stuck around and waited for you and been like, "Hey, you dummy,"
Will
slapped you on the head?
Will doesn't always think on his feet. He's funny, but he's.
I think he hopes for the best.
Yeah.
Because he's so shattered by Anastasia that he wouldn't think it was her.
Right. So he goes, well, let's back up a little bit because his timeline merges with Alice's. So we have modern day Alice, now that she has been revealed where Cyrus is going in search of Cyrus. So she goes, she's headed west, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's headed west. And she meets these two guys in the forest that totally reminded me of Robin Hood. When they're like,
oh, I know.
You have to pay the toll.
If you don't pay the toll, you don't get no roll.
I was thinking exactly that thing. That is exactly what I was thinking. I was like, this is like the scene in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, no, Men in Tights.
Men in Tights,
not even Prince of Thieves, because that does happen. They do have a toll, but the way they said it was so Men in Tights that I was like, are they going to jump over a river and then they're going to have a stick fight?
Are you going to sing? Oh, totally. Oh my gosh, that would have been great.
It would have been great. But so she fights them and they're passed out, and she keeps headed there. And the next part, I loved this nod to the movie where they have all the signs that say, turn back, abandon all hope ye who enter. And she's like, really?
The first
one sign would have been enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then she goes into this very dark portion of the forest.
The black
I love
forest.
the one's self-awareness of, sorry to go back to the signs, just their self-awareness, and they point out the obvious, that they just poke fun at that.
Right, which
Yeah.
I love. I've said this before. I think one of the reasons we love these shows are that they reference other things we know, and it's so much fun to see that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're on the inside of a joke, and it's a bunch of people on the inside of a joke, which makes it even more fun because no one likes to share a joke with themselves.
Exactly.
So she goes through the dark forest, and she's managed to steal the fire stick from the guys. I guess you would call it a torch. Not fire stick, torch. So she's walking through the dark with this torch, and just as the torch goes out and she's like desperately trying to light it, she's like magically on the other side.
She made it to the light.
And she's in, and I thought of you, Marissa, when I saw this, because she's in this field of like flowery poppies, and I was like, it's not exactly the flowers from the movie, but it's kind of like that, and Marissa wanted to see that.
Yeah, I did think of Wizard of Oz in that moment. I was like, she's either on ecstasy right now or she's in a
She was
poppy.
tripping on
She was
something.
She was like, feel the tree trunks. They're so soft. That is something someone on
Pet
drugs
the furry
said.
wall. Oh my goodness.
Like everything was just so
Stroke
happy.
the furry
Stroke
wall.
the furry wall.
Oh my goodness.
And that carpenter guy, he was just
What a creeper.
creepy.
What a creeper.
What carpenter walks around with an axe? Or a saw, whatever that
Yeah,
was.
but the way he was just standing, like in the way he
With
was
a creepy
staring.
smile.
Like,
The
yes,
thing
I
is,
got
I'm like,
you.
first okay, the Carpenter is a reference to Through the Looking Glass. There's a poem, The Walrus and the Carpenter. And in the poem, The Walrus and the Carpenter, they're having a conversation, and they get these oysters to follow them, and then they end up eating the oysters. There are people who think that the walrus represents Buddha and the carpenter represents Jesus, and that the oysters are the followers of those particular religions, and and they blindly follow them and then devour them.
So Jesus and Buddha are gonna eat us all. That's what you're saying.
And also, the Carpenter said a line, Minzy in the Borgros, which if you
From the Jabberwocky.
for the Jabberwocky poem, which is also featured in Alice in Wonderland, or in the Look Through the Looking Glass.
And he does say Borough Ground and Mimsy.
Borgros.
And so, but there are also people who believe that the Walrus and the Carpenter represent just two political figures. I think it's because they have these like clams these clams, oysters follow them, and then they devour them. So there's some sort of thing there. But then other people say that Lewis Carroll enjoyed nonsense and that it's just supposed to be a nonsensical thing, which I don't buy. I don't think people write nonsense just to write nonsense, especially not if you're like a brilliant mathematician. But I'm not sure I'm so behind on the Jesus and the Buddha thing, only because I read somewhere that he said he told his illustrator he could draw for the Carpenter. He could draw a carpenter, a butterfly, or a baronet. And he said, I don't know what a baronet is or if I'm even pronouncing that right, but he told him he could draw one of those three and that whichever one he picked would be the thing for the poem because all of those things fit the rhythm of the poem.
Oh.
So I think I would be more apt to believe that it was about two political figures just based on that because it didn't matter
what
who
it was.
the other one was. But so weird factual segue or side story, not segue. Weird fact aside. The Carpenter is creepy, and so she's in like La La Poppy land with the Carpenter, and otherwise the Knave is now chasing after her, and he sees the Robin Hood Men in Tights guys, and and he basically figures out Alice has been there because they've been knocked out, and they're like, oh, she beat us in our sleep, and he's like, okay, yeah, sure. And then he makes it over there, and he just has the best lines. I'm trying to find the thing he says to the Carpenter when he finds him. Well, he comes in there and says it smells like a bloody perfume bottle. Oh, and then he sees the Carpenter and he says, don't worry about the man with the sword and the scary grin. Yeah. So they're stuck in this flowery area and they're battling them. And I wonder
why Knave wasn't affected as much. I mean, he didn't really talk to the Carpenter because the Carpenter is kind of the one who lured Alice into that whole trance that she was in. But it didn't really seem to have any effect. The area had any effect on
It didn't
Knave.
because we found out he doesn't have his heart.
Right.
So when he left, that was my thinking, because when we left, she was like, oh, I'm getting all these emotions and I feel miserable, and I felt miserable in there. And she kind of has this awakening as to, like, they have this conversation about his heart, and he basically tells her he didn't put it back in his body when they went back to get it because he didn't want to feel miserable about Anastasia anymore. And then, for me, who has been shipping Alice and the Knave the whole time, she's been wearing his heart around her neck. That's what's inside. That's what I thought was inside the thing. Is it the Knave's heart?
The
Did he put
necklace
it-
that Cyrus gave
Yeah,
her?
did he put it in there? Because he makes like a reference to her necklace.
I didn't
And
pick up on that.
Nah, because I was just gonna ask,
to
like,
me-
where's
Where
the
is
Knave's
it?
heart?
yeah, because to me, when he's saying, where's my heart, blah, 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 and he looks down at the necklace and she looks down at it, and I'm like, did he put his heart in the magic necklace?
I took that as because the heart started lighting up at that moment
was
and we
talking
cut
about
to
Cyrus.
Cyrus, who was like kind of calling for her. They were doing their weird like voodoo talk to each other
Like
through
Star
the
Wars?
thing
Like
there.
Luke and Leia.
Yeah, so I
How
took
they
it as-
communicate.
yeah, I took it. He said we'll get to that later because let's talk about that first. And he made a reference to the necklace because it was already lit up.
Oh, he didn't put his heart in her necklace. Well, I don't know.
I mean, there's
Maybe
still
he
a
did.
possibility that he could have,
No, but the Knave saves Alice because she was turning into a tree. Because
Yeah.
all the people who wander through that area turned into trees. Which I don't know about you, and I think Jackie would get this reference, but did it not feel like Xander and Willow when Xander was trying, from Buffy, talking like that, tapping into the humanity of
Yeah.
Willow to like save her?
Yeah, it did. It did.
So I loved how Knave was trying to like get to tap into Alice's, like, you have this plan, your true love, Cyrus, you have this mentality, you have to go after your true love, but it's just a very Xander Willow moment.
It was. It's like it's a very Xander Willow moment in the sense that they're so close that only that person can pull you out of that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the most perfect person to pull you out of that situation.
Agreed.
Yeah, which is why I think the necklace worked, which might debunk your theory that his heart's in there, because I don't think the necklace would have helped to bring her out of it if the Knave's heart was in there, because seeing it
was
brought
off
back
of
to
her at one point.
Brought her back to Cyrus and not to him.
Mm.
Maybe next time.
Cyrus. Okay, so
I love the Knave.
So
I mean, I'll date him.
Pending question: where is the Knave's heart?
Yes.
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere that you wouldn't guess. So that makes me think that it's nearby Anastasia, because she wouldn't have any idea that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's under her throne.
So Anastasia realizes that Cyrus is missing and decides to go searching for him, since Jafar just went on his own mission and
didn't tell nobody. Just
didn't tell anybody.
Didn't leave a note.
He's
didn't
like a
leave
honey badger.
Instructions for
He don't
feeding
care.
his prisoners.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
He don't care. So the queen, who, I know this is terrible, but her lips look better. And it must be because they do. And it must be because you can do like Lisa Rinna, which is permanent injections, which is what Lisa Rinna did, which is why her lips look so deformed. But people who just have super like pucker pump lips, not like Lisa Rinna's, you can see like there's like a weird pucker, but people who have like very glossy pumped lips, it's temporary. So my guess is that she did something temporary and then they asked her not to do it anymore because it looks like it's deflating, which I appreciate because she has a very pretty face and doesn't need to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Side story. So I could see more facial expressions. I love that. Good for you.
She still looks like she's about to bawl in every scene, though.
It's because it's
Like
so cold.
Her eyes are
We
always like
discovered-
have that like glossed
Glossy.
over look to
She's
them.
too cold in Wonderland.
It's cold up
Get
in
her
Vancouver.
a space heater.
But I gotta say, her dress was
Amazing.
phenomenal.
It was
Fierce.
amazing.
That red, amazing dress, and then it looked like they were enchanted forest. But I loved how the atmosphere she was in, her surroundings were green, and she was all decked in red. It really made her stand out.
Yeah.
And we know, I mean, now that we know about her past, that she was essentially like a struggling peasant, and she is now a queen. I like the reference where she's like, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. She's going to go trudging through mud, literally on her own to catch this prisoner, who at first I was kind of confused because we don't realize until the very end that it's like one of those like floating Nintendo worlds.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I thought it was harder to get out of this castle, and now he's in like the woods.
I was expecting a dragon or something, that was out there protecting, Jafar's castle from everything. I didn't see
and then
the
it wasn't
floating.
until the end
Yeah.
until we realized, oh, okay, because I thought he was just in the regular forest, where all the Sims people are. But he's not, and he does the brave thing, and he's just like, I just don't want to be a prisoner anymore, and he jumps off and dives into the water.
Yeah, I've been telling him to jump the whole time he was standing there. When he got to the ledge, I was like, jump. Just go for it.
Yeah.
You're a genie. I'm
True
sure
love
you'll
will save
float.
you.
Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm sure you know how to magically dive.
I don't know, the red carpet is going to come into play.
Yeah, I think
Because we saw that in the first episode, that he jumps and the red carpet saves him. I think they're going to do that again.
do that again.
One jump.
One thing
Gonna come
that,
hand in.
yeah, one
Yeah,
thing that the Red Queen said during all this stuff too, when she was tracking him, when he kind of backtracked his steps through the water to trick the guards into going one way, and then she stops and uses her magic to reveal his foot, and she goes, oh, you think you're clever, but that's not clever enough. And I wanted to be like, yes, it was clever, but you cheated and used magic, so that's how you figured it out, okay? So don't call other people's plans not clever when you're cheating the system here.
Well, he's
a
smart.
genie using his own smarts.
She was smart to think about that, and this was another moment we get to see her use magic, other than the chokehold.
Yes.
So I like that we're seeing that more of her limits or more of her powers that she has.
Now we just need to figure out how she has them.
Yes.
And where they came from.
Exactly.
And
Or
who
she
the
innately
other
magic.
prisoner is, because I liked some of the predictions we had on YouTube this week about him possibly being Aladdin.
Yes, that was
like,
fascinating.
that was a really fascinating
Yeah.
one. So I thought maybe we'd find out a little bit more about him, but he's still stuck in that cage.
I know, and he doesn't want to leave, and he doesn't want to tell her anything
He was getting
about.
tortured.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, why he's making those choices, obviously. And so, speaking of other evil people, we start the episode off with Jafar, and Jafar's outfits are getting so much better now that he has his blowout. He's like, I'm the queen of the world.
Seriously, though. I'm not in love with the blowout either, though. It's
better than the Jerry.
It's better
his
than the
first.
Jerry curl, but I don't know. It just still isn't quite working for me. Because
Tiana's not satisfied.
I just see the wind blowing, and I just want to see him in like a shampoo commercial with that hair.
He is
Or
very
molesting.
much a
It's
shampoo commercial. But his outfit was almost exactly to me like the one that's in the movie. And I really love that. I was like, oh, his outfit is amazing. It was just a great touch.
The outfit was great. The costume designing was on point.
So
in this episode.
he sees the painter, and he tells the painter he has a nice outfit and doesn't say anything nice about his painting. And he goes off to Bethlehem Asylum to talk to Dr. Evil about Alice.
Lydgate. We got a name tonight. It's Dr. Lydgate.
Yes, Dr. Lydgate.
Who's actually,
Evil.
I looked him up, and John Lydgate, as a person who's a poet and a writer, or writer and poet, they're the same thing. But he's a poet.
I wonder
From
if he appreciates
England.
this, being made to look like Dr. Evil.
Maybe that's another tie into
Yeah.
another character.
I'm sure they're doing lots of, I'm sure those are all purposeful references.
Oh yeah, because everything that's brought into the show, it's not just a
except for
throwaway.
Lizard,
Yeah.
everything is not a throwaway.
Yeah,
What
it's
happened
always
to her?
calculated. Yeah,
Exactly.
What did happen
She
to her?
was
Exactly.
here for an episode. We complained and then she disappeared. I think we have magic, guys.
We do have magic
We have
powers.
magic. We made Lizard
We
disappear.
didn't like the fact that Lizard had no relevant story, and she left. Thanks.
Boom.
Good job.
And gone.
So he goes to talk to Dr. Evil, or Dr. what's his face?
Lydgate.
Lydgate.
Lydgate. To find out information about Alice's dad, and information, I would presume, more information about Alice while he's there.
Okay, so
So
Tiona,
doctor-patient confidentiality.
seriously.
Yes, right?
I mean, because usually when you go to asylums, not that I would know this, but aren't you
Usually when you visit them and ask for information.
right? Yeah, usually when you're asking for information about a patient, you usually have to be related to them or be a legal guardian over the patient in order to get any information out of any of the doctors or whatnot. So I don't know, things ran differently in England
In fake
But-
Victorian England.
and
yeah.
even also back at that time. But yeah, serious
I mean,
doctor
I
confidentiality.
kind of get it. The doctor's mind has been rocked. You know, he didn't believe Alice, and then he sees her leave with a talking rabbit. Now
And then
this
Jafar
really
has the
scary
bunny.
guy
Yeah.
is here. He opens a duffel bag, and he's trying to forget everything. So I think Jafar kind of more intimidated him into
Right.
giving the information, which I understand. But at the same time, I was still just like, I mean, doctor-patient if I can't tell my shrink anything, like, who can I tell anything to now?
But the thing is about Lydgate, when Jafar opened the bag and saw the white rabbit, he was afraid. It seemed like he's from Wonderland as well. Like, I'm trying to forget about that.
Or it's a land where people are so stuck in their mind that it seems that so many people from this world are so stuck in their mind that, like, magic isn't real, this doesn't exist, like, it does not compute to them.
And
But
he's a
the thing is,
scientist.
if he doesn't believe in that, then he saw Jafar, you saw he was shaking in his boots. He was really legitimately afraid. So it makes me think maybe Lydgate was in Wonderland as well.
It made me think that he's so scared of what he saw because he truly does not believe it, because he does not think it can be possible for magic to exist or for these things to have happened. Like, I don't think he's even told anyone, because they would lock him up and do treatments on him like he was doing to Alice.
Right.
You know, if he was to start going around. So then to have it brought back into your life, you're like, no, is this my imagination still? Like, he's thinking that he's going crazy because it's here again, and he can't go talk to anyone about it, and he's freaked out.
Side note from this scene, why must this bunny always be used as leverage? This poor rabbit keeps getting thrown into bags and taken places as proof of Wonderland. If you want to prove something in Wonderland, you steal this poor rabbit and throw him in a bag. Not to mention, he's being blackmailed. So not only is he like universal proof leverage, but he is also like universal like person to blackmail.
But the thing is, in the Alice storyline, the white rabbit is hard to catch. So once you catch the white rabbit, he's going to be the best proof that you have to show anyone.
Yeah. But I mean, doesn't he
I
have a
just
wife
feel-
or something?
yeah.
I feel like, you know, someone
40
else.
kids.
Don't they have little bunny babies who walk around talking? Like, there's got to be another rabbit out there.
I
Why?
want to see their bunny
I mean,
baby.
I want to see his family.
It's just this one rabbit. And I feel so bad for him.
I do
because
too. I
he's
feel
being
so
bullied
bad for
right
him.
now.
He is being bullied.
He's being bullied.
Someone needs to stand up for him.
Yeah. Rabbit rights.
Rabbit rights.
That's a tongue twister right there. It was really hard to say. Wabbit whites.
Rabbit rights. Bringing you rabbit rights.
Oh, goodness.
So, and Jafar, I loved his outfit. He
looks good in a suit.
Yeah, his hat and coattails, that was also awesome.
Blending in.
Yeah, the costumes on this show are getting thumbs up.
Awesome. I loved, again, going back a little bit, I loved Jafar's appearance back into, just like Alice, blowing up the earth. And then the painter guy's like, oh, where'd you come from? Doesn't even think about, oh, you just came from the freaking ground.
Right?
Wow.
Well, the painter
happened
hopefully
to be.
has some sort of imagination from painting. Maybe that gives him...
Pretty scared,
That was
too.
just fun to watch.
He's like,
It was funny. It was
what's going
funny.
on
He's
here?
just like, bam, and what?
I am
give me your
sad,
clothes.
though, that Jafar ended up grabbing Alice's dad, because last week, I know we were talking, I really wanted it to be her sister, because it just seems so obvious to be the dad. So I wanted the flashbacks to be more about Alice, you know, actually connecting with Millie in a deeper way, where they had like this great friendship sister bond going on. And it was actually her that ended up back in Wonderland. But I guess it's good that her
I mean, we
dad's
could
there.
still have Millie go to Wonderland at some
I
point.
don't think it would be that impactful.
No.
No. But so, I mean, Jafar takes the dad, and we know from the previews that he is bringing the dad to Wonderland, and that the dad apologizes to Alice in the preview. This episode to me felt like, whereas the last episode I felt like, oh my gosh, so many things are happening. This episode, yes, there were a lot of things happening, but it still felt like this is an episode where we're setting up story.
Yeah.
Where we have to put all the chess pieces, another Wonderland reference. We have to put all the chess pieces in place to then move the story, because now we have Alice and Cyrus back together, or Alice and the Knave back together looking for Cyrus. We have Cyrus jumping into the water. We have Jafar can go wherever he wants. I mean, maybe he comes back to Wonderland and then goes back there. I don't know. And then we have to have him discover that there has been an escape. The Queen has to deal with the escape. So we've set all these things in motion from a very slow, poppy infected kind of moving along plot. I didn't have anything else unless... Jafar said... Jafar, when he was talking to the doctor, he did say sometimes the maddest stories are the truest ones, which I thought that was interesting. That, to me, it just kind of... it kind of exemplifies to me what Wonderland is. It's like, it's so crazy, but it's real.
In Jafar's story tonight, I kind of felt like he was a good guy only because he went back and kind of proved that Alice was right. So I was like, at least Alice is kind of, inadvertently, she's kind of vindicated in this aspect, you know, with the asylum and just everything, because Jafar, unknowing it, is like, you know, sending this guy on the race of a lifetime through his head and really screwing with him mentally. And for me, I was like, yes, Alice. Vindicated. Yeah. So
That was awesome.
but then I went right back to being like, Jafar, bad guy.
So, segue, we have gotten a lot of really awesome YouTube comments. I tried to respond to all of them, except for when I went on today, I found my other comments were like, I couldn't see the responses I had made, so then I was confused as to what I had responded to and what I hadn't. So apologies for this one. But we have a lot of great theories coming up. Tiona mentioned the Aladdin theory, that it's old Aladdin. We've had people think that it's his dad, the Sultan. We have people putting out theories that Anastasia and Regina are related.
Yeah.
There's a kind of Jafar evil mentor theory that's very involved, if you read that one. There's one that wants Jafar to go to Storybrooke, which I think would be cool. And then someone else posted the backstory from the Alice in Wonderland story of the Knave of Hearts. And we now know that the Knave doesn't have his heart. And they also mentioned that the Knave was in, it obviously wasn't the same actor, but the Knave was in 2 episodes of Once Upon a Time.
Before we knew that Cora was the queen, before it was revealed the face of the queen.
So I'm wondering, because we know that, I'm thinking that he had his heart purposefully removed. And the only people that we know how to do that are Rumpel, Cora, and Regina. So, I'm guessing
and Pan.
And Pan.
Pan knows how to do that too.
Because why? Big reveal. Why everybody is related. I was actually talking to somebody about that. Everybody on that show is literally related now.
Yeah.
Crazy family.
So I'm thinking that something had to do with Cora, maybe, like he purposely had his heart removed because he was so miserable and just went to work for her, and then Alice helped him get it back. And I that's the story I really want to know.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it was something more along the Huntsman storyline with Regina, where, maybe he was supposed to do something and then Cora took his heart and was holding it captive, and then, he finally got it back, but then decided, I don't want to love that girl anymore. I was going to say something not very family friendly.
Not nice person.
Yeah, that not nice person.
So I don't have anything else for this episode. We want to go into predictions?
Yes.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So I kind of said my predictions throughout this podcast that I think Lydgate is a character from Wonderland, and he's having the facade that Wonderland is also fake, and he doesn't believe it, even though he's from there. I think Cyrus did not jump into the water. The flying carpet's gonna save him, and I had another one, but yeah.
What if Lydgate isn't from Wonderland, but like Alice, when he was a young boy, he found Wonderland.
Oh,
and then he came back, and everyone convinced him that he was delusional and it wasn't real, and that's why he got into this world, and that's why he's like so adamantly denying that.
Okay, yeah,
maybe something
he's
like that.
been at Wonderland at least 1.2.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And then I'm also gonna say that Cyrus jumping off the edge of the island, I don't think the magic carpet's going to be there. I think that Jafar has some other magical thing there that's not going to allow him to actually get to the water.
A magical harness.
Yeah. Well, I just think that he has other
magical
spells.
Raccoon tail.
I think he just has other spells surrounding it to like protect, because I mean, if you make it to the edge and jump, like how easy is that? Mm-hmm. And he said that it's going to be even more difficult for what's outside. So I think he has something else planned there. And then what came to my mind was, I know Marisa's seen this, but I don't know if everyone else has seen Thor 2.
Yeah.
With like the gravity thing, how like you jump and then it was like you disappeared and went through. Like maybe something like that. So maybe Cyrus jumps in, but then he jumps in and it whoosh and like puts him back in his cell or something.
That makes sense, because we saw when Alice was going through, like, it seems like portals, from one area to another.
Maybe there's a giant bunny hole at the bottom of that.
There might be like a wormhole out there at the bottom. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so I think there might be something like that.
I can see that. I have dreams, not predictions, dreams. I dream that the Knave and Alice are going to have more, like, intimate-y moments, or moments where the Knave, like, is really into Alice.
I will give you this. If the Knave can fall in love with Alice without having his heart inside of him, then that means that they're supposed to be together. But until I see that moment, I won't believe that they're supposed to be together.
Fair enough.
I will give you it if you
Thank
can prove
you.
to me that he's in love with her without a heart in his heart.
I don't know, but we still don't know where his heart is, so.
It could be in her necklace, okay?
She's been carrying his heart with her forever.
On top of Cyrus's heart, but that's fine. You can have 2 hearts. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. You can find me at 123 Jackie_B on Twitter, at 123 Jackie B, all one word, on Instagram. Where can they find you guys?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Tiona Hobson. And you can also catch me on the Once Upon a Time podcast for AfterBuzz TV.
Yes, you can also find me on the Once Upon a Time podcast with Tiona. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV.
And talk to us, tweet us. We love to join the conversation. Thank you, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.